First story. As a seasoned investigative journalist specializing in paranormal activities, I had thought I'd seen it all, but nothing could prepare me for the seething dread that awaited me in the quaint, yet eerily quiet town of Wichita. My investigative journey had led me there, the site of numerous chilling reports claiming the existence of a vengeful spirit haunting the desolate Wichita Manor. Under the foreboding shadow of the towering manor, I shivered, a knot of unease growing in my stomach. Not typically a man given to superstition, I found the sinister whispers surrounding Wichita chilling. Armed with a bag full of investigative gear and a heart racing with adrenaline, I stepped across the threshold into a world untouched by time, and by the looks of it, plagued by the supernatural. A chill ran down my spine as I explored the disheveled manor. Decades-old portraits watched me from dusty frames, their eyes seemingly following my every move. The manor's silence felt alive, humming with a spectral energy, thick and foreboding. I could not shake the feeling of being watched, stalked by an entity I couldn't see. In the chilling silence, I found myself in the grand hall, its tall vaulted ceilings echoing the eerie history of the place. Suddenly, a bone-rattling wail pierced the air. A cold, icy hand seemingly gripped my heart. With dread seeping into every nerve, I steadied my trembling fingers and asked, "Who are you? What do you want?" To my utter shock, an ethereal voice whispered, "Vengeance. He must pay." Every hair on my body stood on end, but as an investigative journalist, it was my duty to unearth the truth. I could sense the anger of the tormented spirit. Perhaps the source of Wichita's haunting was linked to some grievous wrong that had occurred within these very walls. Working all night, I delved into town records, uncovering an unspeakable history. It detailed the tale of a beautiful heiress, Lily, brutally murdered by her deceitful lover, the Earl of Wichita. There in the cold, eerily poignant darkness, I realized the spirit seeking vengeance was Lily, tethered to this world by her unredeemed heartache. Feeling a mixture of chilling dread and soul-clutching sorrow, I promised Lily, "Your story will be unveiled, and justice shall be served." There fell a silence, a pause that felt like an eternity before a soft sigh echoed, "Thank you." The echo of those words brought an unexpected warmth to the otherwise wintry manor. Fear gave way to empathy, and I spent the rest of the night compiling evidence and recording the chilling tales of Lily's spirit, affirmed by the haunted whispers in Wichita Manor. I prepared to carry her story to the world, to seek justice for the wronged soul. As I left Wichita, I couldn't help but carry a part of the manor's eerie dismay and the haunting sadness of Lily's untold story within me. The fear that once paralyzed me now propelled me, a silent promise hanging between me and the shadowy halls of Wichita Manor. This was no mere anecdote of ghastly apparitions. This was a tale of unfinished business, of a sorrow trapped in time, resonating in the spectral twilight, longing for closure. Second story. I had always prided myself on a level head and calm demeanor until that fateful night in the autumn of 2023. As a history professor with an uncanny interest in terrains, an abandoned mining town in Colorado named Leadville became an irresistible lure. It was rumored to be haunted, and while I did not believe in the supernatural, the prospect of untouched historical treasures excited me. So I packed my gear and set off on what was supposed to be an invigorating adventure. Upon arrival, a dense fog blanketed the desolate town. The shaky wooden signpost that read "Welcome to Leadville" creaked ominously in the biting wind. The ghost town vibe was amplified by the muted howl of the wind through empty houses, each of them a graveyard of lived and lost moments. Inside the former saloon, which also functioned as the town's old meeting place, the air felt dense, heavy. The previous life of the town echoed through the deserted bar stools and poker tables, whispers of laughter and camaraderie, now shrouded in an eerie silence. Then it started. Faint sounds of harmonica music played eerily through, seemingly from nowhere, punctuated by ghostly laughter. My heart pounded against my ribs, my rational brain struggling to debunk the phenomenon. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice echoing in the chilling quietness. There was no reply, just a twang of the harmonica, deeper and louder, that sent a bolt of fear sluicing through my veins. Still embittered with my rationalize everything approach, I went closer to the source, stepping carefully over rotten wood and discarded mining tools. Suddenly, a burst of cold wind erupted, blowing out my torchlight, engulfing me in a pitch-black darkness. Easy, it's all in your mind, I whispered to myself, but my racing heartbeat begged to differ. I switched on my flashlight, casting long shadows in the room, and then I saw it. On the dusty mirror behind the counter, written seemingly in frost, were the words, "Get out." The blood in my veins turned icy cold. A whimper escaped my lips as I froze, my eyes still glued to the mirror. My rational brain was overwhelmed by raw fear. "You can't be real," I uttered, my normally firm voice shaking. There was no response, but the previously buzzing surroundings fell into a deadly silence. Summoning all the courage I had left, I bolted out of the saloon into the fog-laden streets, with nothing but fear as my companion. Above the all-encompassing fog, the moon looked down, distant and indifferent, as I sped away from Leadville. It's been months since that terrifying episode, and I'd yet to shake off the chilling memory of that town's spectral echo. I often catch myself replaying the event and questioning my beliefs. Fear has a face now, etched in the frost-laced mirror of a ghost town saloon. It served me a slice of humble pie, a reminder that there are facets of this world that defy rationality, things that creep in the darkness, unwilling to be forgotten. Third story. I had always been a pragmatic person, until that one chilling night at a decrepit, supposedly cursed cabin in the woods. A mere dare from my adventurous friends had led me into a situation I hadn't been prepared for. The cabin was a forsaken relic lost in time, and like an idiot, I had agreed to spend a whole night in its enigmatic confines. The sun was setting as I ventured into the eerie silence, armed with a flashlight and my skeptic arrogance. Inside was a world forgotten. Rotting wooden tables and chairs, cobwebs embellishing every corner, and a chilling draft that made me shudder. The flickering light from my flashlight danced on the dusty surroundings, creating an atmosphere straight out of a horror movie. As I explored, a blood-curdling whisper reached my ears. I halted, ears straining against the disquieting silence. The whisper continued, strangely melodic and unsettling, seemingly coming from the floor below. I found a rickety staircase descending into darkness. As I hesitantly made my way down, the strange whispers morphed into something unmistakably human. A woman's voice, barely a breath, uttering an incantation of sorts. In the cellar, a single candle flickered on an aged oak table, casting long, monstrous shadows. The voice was clearer now, and I could make out the words, "Come join us." Hello. I stammered, every sense screaming danger. "Who's there?" The whisper paused briefly before repeating, louder, more adamant, "Join us," accompanied by an eerie hum of multiple voices joining in, filling the cellar with an otherworldly chorus. My skin prickled and my heart pounded against my ribcage. I mustered the courage to declare, "I don't want to join anyone." The voices fell into a deafening silence. In the split second, I felt relief. That was until the candle blew out abruptly, leaving me in terrifying darkness. Rushes of cold air swarmed across my face, sending a chill down my spine. A chorus of sinister laughter echoed around me, piercing through the dark, and a forceful gust of wind pushed me upward, urging me towards the exit. Adrenaline surged through my veins as I shot up the stairs, relentless laughter chasing after me. Once outside, I sprinted through the thicket, not halting until I was safely inside my car. Trembling with fear, exhausted and terrified, I peeled out of the property, away from the nightmare that was supposed to be just a dare. To this day, the haunting memory plagues me. I'm repeatedly drawn back to the ethereal whispers and laughter from the void. The defiant skeptic in me has been silenced, replaced by a reluctant believer. Now, I dread the night, fear the unknown, and shudder at the memory of the whisper. Come join us. Fourth story. It started as an innocuous night of exploration in the derelict hospital uptown, left to rot since the 1950s. My friend Joe and I, we loved ghost hunting, always shooing away skeptics with our audacious spirit. Armed with flashlights and recorders, we breached the gloomy entrance of the colossal structure. Its dark, hollow corridors echoed with our footsteps, mocking our bravado. The first couple of floors were gloomy collections of scattered debris, cryptic writings on the wall, and pigeon nests. It was when we reached the deserted children's ward on the third floor that the dread creeped in. Feel that? I asked Joe, skin crawling. Joe nodded, visibly uneasy. Like we're being watched, right? We pressed on, rounding a corner into a room oddly untouched by time. In its center, an antique rocking horse, its paint chipped, remained still. The air turned thicker, colder. Without warning, the horse began to rock furiously, as if propelled by an unseen force. Mouths agape, we watched the petrifying scene, paralyzed by fear. Suddenly, a giggling echoed through the room, high-pitched, like that of a child. A whisper followed. "Play with me." Wide-eyed, I stammered. "Who's there? What do you want?" No response. The laughter stopped, but the horse kept swinging. Joe, gaining a semblance of courage, demanded, "Stop this trickery immediately." With a final reckless swing, the horse abruptly halted. Vicious silence hung in the room. Then, the giggling resumed, this time followed by dozens of little voices, humming a disconcerted tune. The spectral choir carried through the room, the sound unnerving enough to scare the bravest. The dread was suffocating. Sweat trickled down my temple. Driven by raw fear, I managed to sputter. "We meant no harm. We will leave. Now." Suddenly, the humming escalated into a cacophony of shrieking that pierced our ears. Disoriented, we stumbled back, scrambling to find the exit. As we reached the corridor, all lights on our gear went out simultaneously, plunging us into a maddening darkness. The otherworldly pandemonium followed us, snarling at our heels like specters from hell. Somehow, we found our way out. The chilly night air never felt so comforting. We sank onto the pavement, gulping down fresh air, hearts pounding like drums. Our pursuit of the paranormal was never quite the same after that night. The terrifying memory constantly haunts us, serving as a relentless reminder of the unseen world that we dare not confront again. The laughter, the voices, the anguished screams, they are etched in our minds, a terror that echoes in our ears when the world goes quiet. Fifth story. In summers, Uncle Fred's secluded cabin in the Appalachian wilderness was my favorite escape. That year, though, it wasn't my refuge. It was a nightmare. The eeriness began one moonless night. While reading by lantern light, I heard what sounded like scratching along the cabin's wooden exterior. This was wilderness, home to raccoons and squirrels. I ignored it at first, branding it product of nocturnal critters. But the scratching persisted, growing louder, more aggressive. Fearfully, I peeked out a window, but the darkness swallowed everything whole. I retreated to my bed, trying to drown out the sound with the rustle of sheets over my head. The next morning, taking courage, I examined the cabin exterior. To my horror, long, jagged scratches adorned the cabin's walls. They were too deliberate, too menacing for any critter. Dread burrowed deep into my gut, but I was determined not to let fear conquer. That night, the scratching returned, this time accompanied by a guttural growl that sent chills down my spine. Taking a deep breath, I stammered, "Who's there? Show yourself." Silence. Then came a booming voice, "Leave." The tone was neither human nor animal, a grotesque blend that screamed danger. Terror exploded within me, adrenaline assisting a hasty retreat from the cabin, out into the dark forest. Hurtling through the undergrowth, I heard the snarling voice again, "Run." Echoing through the trees, it pursued me relentlessly. In my panic, I fell, rolling down a steep incline. A sharp, agonizing pain shot up my leg, a twisted ankle. Unable to escape any further, I scurried below a large tree, clutching my injury, the terror overwhelming me like a wave. Suddenly, the forest fell silent. I waited, breath held, heart pounding. Minutes passed, then hours. Nothing. Confused and terrified, I forced myself to stay vigilant until dawn. When the first rays of sunlight seeped through the forest canopy, the nightmare receded. The pain in my ankle was real, but the terror of the night felt like a grim dream as the peaceful forest sounds returned. Uncle Fred found me later that morning, alarmed by the slashed cabin and my evident horror. As we left the Appalachian wilderness behind, I couldn't shake off the petrifying nights I endured in that once-loved cabin. The voices still echo in my dreams, reminding me of the yet unseen horrors that lurk in the far-reaching shadows of the world.